Hello, Gasaholics. I'm Hot Rod Bob, and you've got gas. An edition about the anniversary of the Mustang. That's right. This is April. The Mustang was introduced April 17th, 1964. Yes, it's been a long time. And the Mustang is the only pony car that has been in production since introduction. That's right. Camaro, well, it came in 1966 as a 67 model and went away in 2002 along with its kissing cousin, the Firebird. The Firebird was even introduced later. It didn't come out till February 1967. The Barracuda, though, beat the Mustang to market in March of 1964, virtually went unnoticed because the Mustang advertising blitz had blanked out just about any other car that was going to be advertised. And the Mustang became the standard. Well, that's why they call them pony cars, don't they? Because of the popularity of the Mustang. Now, the Challenger came in later in life, about 1970. Didn't last that long in American production style. It did become a Mitsubishi product, rebadged. But it's neither here nor there. As far as the pony cars, the Mustang is still the king, was the king, always will be the king. And with the news that the Challenger may be going away and the Camaro is going away in 2024, the Mustang continues on. And I'm not talking about the E-Stang or Mach-E, the travesty of a name, but it is a Mustang. So let's talk about the early Mustangs and the real Mustang of today. Now, I'm not going to be talking about the V8 Mustang of today because I want an equal kind of comparison. So let's take a look at the specs to start with for the introduction of the Mustang with a 289. So that'd be 1966, let's say. Well, the car was very popular. The 2+2 is what we're going to focus on because that was also used by Carroll Shelby to make the GT350. Now, I don't know what you think GT350 stood for, but the reality is GT was Grand Touring. 350 was the number of steps from the shop to Shelby's office. That's how the name 350 came out. GT Mustang, GT Coupe, or GT Fastback, 350 steps, GT350. It did not at any point in time have 350 horsepower or 350 cubic inches. The 65-66 Mustang GT350 was 289 cubic inches. We'll go into the horsepower in just a moment, but let's look at the base model or the standard GT Mustangs. 289 cubic inches, 271 horsepower with the K-Code engine. 271 horsepower was pretty darn good back in the day, considering it was 289 cubic inches as well. The performance of the Mustang before Shelby got a hold of it was pretty impressive for the time. Let's take a look at that. And I'm going to find it here in just a second. All right, 0 to 60. That's a thing that we keep measuring. 0 to 60 miles an hour, I don't know why they chose that, was 5.2 seconds. Impressive, especially for that time. And with the small engine and car. 0 to 100 was 14 seconds flat. Now, they said the quarter mile was also, 100 miles an hour. They did this. They didn't do it right on this road test I'm reading because they're saying the 100 mile an hour number was reached in the quarter mile in 14 seconds, and that's just not so. It was over 15 seconds for it to get to the quarter mile. So for some reason, they misprinted this on the road test I'm looking at. The weight of the 65-66 Mustang, 2,760 pounds, was the dry weight. The curb weight, 2,877, but test weight. Now, this is road ready. Everything, gas, oil, fuel, everything in it, was 3,175 pounds. Now, you got to remember, in that day and age, no air conditioning. May have had power steering. Front disc brakes only. It's a good car. It was a very good car for the time. Times have changed. All right, now let's take a look at its brethren, the GT350. That was the basic Mustang we talked about. The first one we're going to look at is a GT350H that came out in 1966. This was the Hertz rental car edition, and there were a little over 300 of those offered, and they were both manual and automatic transmissions. Let's take a look at the automatic transmission model first. Now, with the Shelby modifications in street trim, they were 306 horsepower. Okay. The Shelby GT350H primarily was offered in an automatic transmission. Why? They didn't think rental companies could rent a 4-speed vehicle, and they didn't think people renting cars wanted a manual. Little did they know. They were still available, though. They're saying 0 to 60 in 6.6 seconds. Impressive. Curb weight, 3,158 pounds with the automatic transmission. Still no air conditioning. Quarter mile, 15.2 seconds. Now, Car and Driver said 0 to 114 seconds. It didn't happen because even the GT350 didn't do that. 0 to 100, 17.9 seconds. Observed top speed, 117 miles an hour. And this was the GT350. Car and Driver tested this one. Fuel economy, 6 to 12 miles per gallon. That would really go over big today now, wouldn't it? All right, now, the 65 GT350 with a manual transmission. Weighed in, 2,850, plus or minus 100 pounds there. And the specs for acceleration, pretty much the same as the Shelby. No big deal there. 306 horsepower, no change there. Again, these were street trim vehicles. The race trim had a little bit more horsepower. Not much. And don't forget, these horsepower figures are brake horsepower. We currently use net horsepower, SAE net, which is with the accessories on the motor. So there's probably between a 20 and 30% difference. The current horsepower ratings are with accessories. The old horsepower ratings are without. They would be lower if you added the accessories back in 1965-66. Now, production numbers, the Shelby GT350 in 1966, there were 1,365 of these. The GT350 Hertz edition, there were 1,000 of those. There were 13 prototypes that were built, a total 2,378 GT350s, both the street and the regular GT350 and the Hertz rental car. Now, let's take a look at the current Mustang 4-cylinder. 4-cylinder. That can't even compete, right? Wrong. Now, the current Mustang with the turbocharged 4-cylinder is putting out up to 332 horsepower net. Net. If you were going to rate this engine by brake horsepower, you'd add about 30%. Way over what the GT350s had back in the day. And those were considered fast cars. Transmission, 6-speed manual or 10-speed automatic. Back in the days of the early GT350, you got a 4-speed manual or a 3-speed automatic. The weight, now here's where the current car loses. 3,500 to 3,800 pounds depending on the accessories. But remember, you can't buy one without air conditioning. And they crash test these. The 350 was never crash test. Why? It would crumple. It would bend. It would disappear in a current crash test. The new Mustangs are far safer. They handle better. The original Mustang GT350, solid rear axle. It used bigger brakes from a Galaxy in the rear, but still drum brakes. Front brakes were disc, but they were the standard disc brakes that came on that car as an option. Standard as an option. Well, disc brakes were an option back in 1966. They were not standard. Today, the 4-cylinder Mustang, 4-wheel disc brakes, standard. Independent front and rear suspension, standard. Never even available on the early Mustang GT350. Now, here's where some of the advantages of today's cars are. Not only is it safer in crash testing, yes, that's an important thing to me. You never know when you're going to get into an accident, but the current Mustang is far stronger than the previous Mustang, even in race trim with a full roll cage. The curb weight currently, depending on option levels, is between 3,500 and 3,800 pounds. That's 1,000 pounds heavier than the original Mustang was, with more horsepower. The performance, 0 to 60, 4.9 to 5.7 seconds. Again, difference between manual and automatic transmission. 0 to 100, 13.5 seconds to 15.5. I mean, we're blowing the old Mustang out of the water here. Standing quarter mile, 13.4 to 14.3. Now remember the original Mustang, those numbers, quarter mile times, well, let's take a look at that and see what it is. Quarter mile, again, current driver just misprinted this. They're saying 14 seconds, but that was 0 to 100, which isn't accurate either. But the quarter mile, 15.2 seconds for the GT350 at 93 miles an hour. Now, current driver's not giving the mile per hour for the standing quarter mile here, but at 13.5 seconds, which is 1/10 of a second slower than their reading in the quarter mile, that reached 100 miles an hour. Again, the current driver tested the GT350, 17.9 seconds to 100 miles an hour. 4 seconds difference. The four-cylinder is 4 seconds faster. Fuel economy. Well, we talked about that GT350, 6 to 12 miles per gallon. The current four-cylinder, 22 to 28 miles per gallon. We've come a long way, baby. Mustang GT350, iconic car. I would love to have one. I have to sell my house and every other car I've got to try and buy one, but that was an iconic car, highly desirable. I don't care if it only gets 8 to 10 miles per gallon. It's the car. It's the rumble. It's the sound. Hi, Pammy, how you doing? It's the way the car drives. It is the aura around the GT350. Would I drive a four-cylinder Mustang? You bet. And I'd blow the doors off a GT350. I'm Hot Rod Bob. You've got gas, a special edition. Hope you're having a good day. Thanks for tuning in. You are a gasaholic. GAAS, the Great American Auto Scene, since 1990, your source for auto information, some humor, and, well, stuff about cars that you want to know. I'm Hot Rod Bob. GAAS brought to you by Service Tech Equipment in Simi Valley, California, Valley Head Service in Northridge, California, Irwindale Speedway and Drag Strip in beautiful downtown Irwindale. Take care, folks. You have a great day. Hey, like and share this. You'll find it on YouTube, a whole bunch of other sites, Apple. It's all on every podcast site you can imagine. Check it out. Like, save, share. Hey, like Bob Beck here on Facebook as well. Take care, folks. You have a great day. I'm Hot Rod Bob.